Hi, my name is AJ Plays. I've never beaten the first level of Street Fighter 2. This is Tekken 7. I guess. Recently, I actually went to my local nickelcade because it was Saturday night and I was depressed. I wasted away at the typical games, Donkey Kong 3, Punch-Out, and Star Wars Pinball Machine that cost 9 nickels, jeez. And eventually, I was down to my last 2 nickels, and I spotted a certain arcade machine in the back next to all the other fighting games called Tekken Tag Tournament. I thought, hey, I just got Tekken 7 on Humble, I should give this a shot. Despite being absolute donkey lard at fighting games. So I paid the entry toll, chose the only character I knew anything about and a bear, and had at it. And wait a minute, I felt good playing this, much better than I ever did playing Street Fighter. It didn't take me long to figure out the basic moves and style, and I made it through 3 rounds until I lost to a kangaroo. And man, I honestly felt like going to get another handful of nickels and just keep going at it. And thus, I left the arcade with a new plan. I went home, watched a bunch of videos recommending I don't start with this game, and decided it was finally time to try Tekken 7. Tekken 7 opens with a beautiful cutscene and an awesome main menu. Man, I need to change that picture. It perfectly shows just what kind of game you're getting into. This isn't your typical Smash Bros. Or Rivals of Aether. You are about to fight one-on-one in extreme combat, where the slightest misinput can mean victory or defeat. And after dabbing in the practice mode and finding out that the kangaroo is gone because of PETA or something, I jumped into what everybody buys fighting games for. The story! Yeah, I jumped into the campaign hoping that I would be able to learn the core mechanics of the game and become prepared to stand toe-to-toe against some online opponents. Great, now that I've scared off everyone who's actually played the game, the campaign is exactly what you'd expect. It really is just a bunch of set battles with context behind them. That's not bad at all. But that's all it is, which is exactly what I was expecting. The story itself is fine. In a world where people understand every language but only speak one, it shows conflict of 2 corporations in a war of the aftermath of some other Tekken game. But the cutscenes, as beautiful as they are, can go on. I know my favorite game of all time is a Metal Gear game, but I think the style of this game just doesn't work for longer cutscenes since the gameplay has been to be played in shorter bursts and also with others. And FYI, even in Metal Gear, I hate it when a minute or 2 of gameplay is stuck between 2 5-minute cutscenes. Speaking of cutscenes, guys, I did it. I found somebody with a worse vocal performance than me.
When I headed back to the barracks, a message was waiting for me. I was dumbstruck. How could my hometown have come under attack?
Yeesh. Anyway, the campaign does demonstrate the number of different characters and gameplay styles, giving you control of whoever the story needs to progress. So yeah, you'll be jumping back and forth between different characters on the fly. The fact that you don't know who to root for in the story is irrelevant, just win. But how do you win? I honestly couldn't tell you, but I'm going to try. Tekken is a 2.5D fighting game. You move along a 2D plane that rotates in a 3D space. The 3D space isn't as prominent as it is in something like Excalibur or Sifu. It mostly serves as a leeway to perform cooler moves and cooler evasions. Your methods of attack are pretty standard for fighting games. 2 kick buttons, 2 punch buttons, and you combine those 2 into combos like a symphony, I think. Yeah, so I was kind of an idiot and had basic combos on for most of the time, so a lot of my combos were automatic. Whoops. As far as I'm concerned, I'm showing up to a piano recital, spamming the keys, and it somehow sounds better than the last guy who butchered Megalovania. The game tries to teach you combos, but I did find it fun learning how the basics of the game works. Back to block, down to crouch, up to jump, and if you can walk away from Tekken's campaign knowing anything, it's that winning can be boiled down to a basic string of if statements. Yes, I know switch statements exist, but I'm too lazy for that right now. If opponent is open, attack. Else if opponent is attacking, block attack if you can. Else if have gun, use gun. If not using Akuma, use Akuma. As much as it pains me to say it, this isn't Smash Bros. You can't just use Kazuya to destroy everything in your path. You have to use Kazuya to wait for your opponent to flinch and then destroy everything in your path. Somewhat. If you can grasp that basic understanding of when to do what, it ultimately won't matter if you can pull off some combo you saw on YouTube. I know this because I have automatic combos on and I'm still getting my muffins cooked. It's about decisions and flow. That is the fundamental of the game, most fighting games in general, and that will help you stand on your own in Tekken campaign.
You lose.
Fighting games are notorious for having crappy tutorials and online modes with Matterhorn high skill ceilings, and thus, even if you think you're ready for online, you're not. Go unranked and you'll be matched with somebody way above your skill level. Go ranked and you'll be matched with somebody who the game thinks is on your skill level. Either that or you just see this, because nobody wants an easy win. Playing online is the multiplayer equivalent of Sekiro. You will see things you have absolutely no understanding of and not know what to do. You will be pummeled over and over. Outside of YouTube guides, your main method of learning is seeing what the other guy is doing, looking at what it's doing to your character, and figure out, okay, when A happens, what can I do to ensure I don't get comboed into oblivion? And I actually really like that learning style in games, when it's done correctly. Celeste has it right. You die and respawn in a matter of seconds. I think harder games are at their best when you can get back at it quickly and not have to work through something mediocre before its main challenge. It's kind of my problem with roguelikes. As much as I love getting smacked to the ground and learning how to counter my opponents, the lack of online activity and long waiting times I experienced made it hard to care. If the servers were more busy and I didn't see this so often, I think I'd love this game a lot more. It's definitely not the game's fault, that's just the situation I'm in. Just like Ablaze Casa, thank you all for telling me I was wrong for playing the launch version. And of course, if you've tried perfecting anything, you know that learning takes so much more energy than doing it. At least for me. I almost always want to dive into a project with the skills I have, rather than learn how to do something, even though that is legitimately the worst way to go about life, and thus, learning this game is exhausting. But when you get into a combo, when you defend from a string of attacks, when you perfectly evade a punch and land a rage attack, that's when the game is at its peak. It feels higher than the amount of dopamine from something like Mario Kart. But when you're starting out, those highs are few and far in between. Just like actual competitive martial arts. I actually started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu recently, and it's shocking how similar these two things are. Not saying I do this in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, oh my gosh no, but the learning curve is very similar. You get pummeled, slowly learning how to handle different situations until you get to the point where you can somewhat hold your own. And eventually, I got my first win, and I felt like I earned it. Kind of. Yeah, like I said, I have automatic combos on, so let's turn them off and try learning some. Yeah, I'm not going to pretend like I'm even above the lowest percentile of all Tekken players. I'm not going to pretend like I'm even gotten past the wrapper of the Tootsie Pop that is Tekken 7. But if I actually sat down and bit into this Tootsie Pop, I'd never get this video done. I've grasped the basics, and I like it. But to sit down and learn all the combos for every character, that's sadly a part of fighting games, so I won't hold that against Tekken specifically, even though there could be a simpler way to learn combos. But thanks to basic combos, I was still able to really enjoy Tekken 7. I think if I could bounce in and out of online battles a lot faster, I'd be a lot more infused by it. Again, that's not the game's fault, and I'm kind of hooked on the genre now. I'd totally be down to try more of this game and even look into some other games in the genre, maybe something a little bit simpler. I'm still bad, very bad, but unlike before, I don't feel bad being bad. I just feel myself getting better. And that's pretty dang cool. Thank you so much for watching. I really enjoy diving into these things that I have little to no experience in, so if you like watching that, let me know. I might make this into a little series. I have another game I want to look at in mind, but for now, that's all from me. My name is AJ Blaze, and where's my kangaroo guy?